Start the, there we go.
Okay.
There we are. Thank you. Okay. So we in Pasuk Yud Aleph, which is Pasuk 11, David HaMelech says, Hareini Hashem darkecha. Please Hashem, show me your ways. Unacheni ba'erach mishar, lead me on a straight path. Lema'an shararai, because of my tormentors. That's the request that David HaMelech makes, asking Hashem to, and as we've discussed up until now, that when David HaMelech is talking about his tormentors, he's not only speaking about his enemies and the actual physical fights that he had, but he's also speaking about his Yetzer Hara, his desire to follow other things, other ways, and this is what he's asking Hashem for help with, firstly with his physical enemies, but more than that, Hareini Hashem darkecha, please Hashem, teach me your way. The commentaries point out that the way of Hashem is not just one way. Hareini Hashem darkecha, please show me your way, and lead me ba'erach mishar, on a straight path. David HaMelech is alluding to the fact that there are many different ways to serve Hashem. A person is able to choose their way of serving Hashem. Now, this is provided that it is a Torah way, that it is like a godly method of serving Hashem. And I always like to think about it. When we lived in Cape Town and we were able to go play in Kirstenbosch in the afternoon for a little bit of time. So it was always fascinating to me that different people who went to Kirstenbosch would come out and describe Kirstenbosch completely differently. So some people, like when we used to go there, we used to go straight to the big grass area, and the children would run on the grass, play in the stream, and then there was a tree there which they loved to climb in, and they called that their magic tree. And for us, that was Kirstenbosch. For other people, Kirstenbosch is climbing up the side of the mountain. For other people, Kirstenbosch is the herb garden. For someone else, it's the rose garden. And when you come out to the parking lot afterwards, you were all at Kirstenbosch, but you all saw something different, did something different, but it was all Kirstenbosch. And this is Hashem's way, and that's what David HaMelech is telling us. Because each of us has a different personality, we have a different way of doing things, we have a different way of connecting, so long as we all in Kirstenbosch. In other words, so long as we all are keeping authentic Torah, then there are lots of different parts, there's lots of different paths. And the request that David HaMelech is making of Hashem is, show me my straight path. Okay, I mustn't try to do Torah and follow Hashem exactly in the same way as the person next to me, because someone else has got other qualities which they need to nurture and do better at and work on. So say, for example, the years my mother loved going to visit in the old age home, and for however many years she went all the time to the old age home, and this is one of her great mitzvahs. For me, that's not okay. That's not my kind of thing at all. And there were times where I beat myself about it. It's like, how come I can't do this? I can't do this. But there are other things that I can do, and that's what David HaMelech is asking Hashem. He says, show me your way, and then show me my straight way. Help me find my direction. Help me find what I need to be doing in order to be serving Hashem correctly. And don't torment yourself with what someone else is doing. Do what you need. Do what you need to be doing. The ma'an shararai, so that my tormentors, that whole Jewish guilt that we suffer. I can't do this like somebody else can. That's not what's expected of us, right? It's not expected of us to be doing exactly what someone else is, but it is expected of us to find which is our way. What is the thing that I need to be doing now? And that's what David HaMelech is asking for over here. He continues and he says, please don't don't give me into the hands of my enemies. Kikomu the Ede Sheker. False witnesses have come up against me before Hamas, and they speak of violence. Again, David HaMelech is speaking about both kinds of enemies who went for him: the physical enemies who really tried to kill him physically, and then the his own enemies, that was his, whether it was his Yetzer Hara, whether it was a Satan, whether it was his own guilt, whatever it was that that he needed to work on, he's asking Hashem for help with it. He then continues with another comment. He says, Lulei hemanti. If only, the word lulei you might see as similar to halavai, right? Same root words. Halavai, okay? If only hemanti, I had realized this, I had trusted, I had believed this. Liroit betuv Hashem, to see the good of Hashem, be'eretz chayim, in the land of life. And this is David HaMelech like reminding us that don't look back afterwards and say, if only. As we're going through life, we need to be saying right now, not if only. Okay, if only I had. And this word lulei, if you have a look at it, the letters lamed, vav, lamed, and aleph, these are the same letters as the word Elul. And that is what one of the themes of the month of Elul, that we're supposed to be saying to ourselves in this part of the time, if only I had a better year, if only I had been doing this, and this. But we only allowed to say if only if it comes together with a desire to go forward. If only by itself is worthless, but if only if it brings us to a better place, if it brings us to serving Hashem better, then that's what the month of Elul is about. Lulei hemanti. If only I had believed, if only I had realized, if only I had known, if only I had done, right? Why must I be saying if only? Because only if it's going to make me do something different tomorrow, next week, next year. Lulei hemanti, if only. And he ends off this kapitel with the words kaveh el Hashem, and he uses the word kaveh, which literally means hope. Put your hope in Hashem. Chazak ve'ametz libecha. Strengthen yourself and give yourself courage, give your heart courage. But kaveh el Hashem, and put your hope in Hashem. So he ends off with this concept that must always have hope. The person always has to have hope. And if what you're hoping for doesn't turn out right away, then he says, Kaveh el Hashem, hope again, right? So if it doesn't work out the first time, then again. So simply the Mefarshim tell us that here he's talking about exactly the time that we're about to enter. Kaveh el Hashem, put your hope into Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, that you've achieved what you needed to achieve during the year, during the month before, and now you've arrived at Rosh Hashanah, and you are putting your hope that Hashem is going to, please God, give you a good year. At the end of Rosh Hashanah, you start asking yourself, like, was it a good Rosh Hashanah? Did I achieve? Did I get? What was the plan? We sometimes get a little bit nervous, and I don't know about you, I often find that from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, quite an intense time of, yes, I am managing, I am not managing, I've done what I intended, I haven't done what I intended, it is going well, it isn't going well. So at the end of Rosh Hashanah, what we should say to ourselves is, Chazek ve'ametz libecha. That's the next words he says. Strengthen yourself, give yourself courage, pat yourself on the back, say, I've tried my best, but I'm going to try even harder during these next few days. And then finally, v'kaveh el Hashem, then you'll be able to put your full hope, your full faith in Hashem on Yom Kippur, with a trust that it's, please God, going to be a good year. So that's the first level. But the deeper level, the message that David HaMelech is giving us is for always, not just for the time of Tishrei, the time that we're in now, but for always. A Jew is not allowed to lose hope. And even when things don't seem to be great, Kaveh el Hashem. David HaMelech says, no matter what, hope. You've got to have hope. There is a Yiddish proverb. I won't try to say it in Yiddish, but it says, if you lose money, you've lost nothing. If you lose health, you've lost something. And if you lose hope, then you've lost everything. And that is a take off from David HaMelech, Kaveh el Hashem. We have to realize that we have to just keep on hoping, trusting and believing in Hashem. It says in the Medrash that a loss of hope is a disaster. Okay, and that's so when a person has no hope, it's just a plain disaster. So how do we get this hope that we are hoping for? So sometime during lockdown, I was feeling a little down, or a lot down, and I was discussing this with my husband, and I said, how do we keep on injecting ourselves with trust, with hope, with belief? How do we keep on coming back? I don't know about you guys, but the first Pesach of lockdown, where we all thought that COVID was going to be a 2-week affair and finished and gone, and hoped for that, and I had no doubt in my mind that that Mashiach was coming, that Pesach. So much so that although we were all by ourselves at the Seder, just our immediate family, but Tzala had just recovered from COVID, and we were still not sure if we were allowed to go near him or we weren't allowed to go near him. But I got dressed for the Seder, and my family even commented that it was fully ready for a party, put on shoes and stockings and shekel, and got dressed with makeup. And I said, I'm the one who's taking the candle out to meet Eliyahu Hanavi, because for sure tonight when we open the door, Mashiach is coming. What else could this crazy pandemic be about? And then I came inside. And the following week I said, well, it must be next week, right? It must be when the end of Pesach, we have Mashiach Suda, and then for sure Mashiach is going to come. And then I said, okay, Hashem's tricking us. Okay, what's going to happen next, right? So now it's the following week, and I think, okay, by Rosh Chodesh, for sure, Mashiach is going to be here. And so it went, okay, Lag BaOmer, Mashiach will come for sure by Lag BaOmer. What is going on? And then instead of keeping on looking for dates, started saying, is Mashiach coming? What is going on? What is happening? And discussed this a lot with my husband and with a few of my friends, teachers. What is this that David HaMelech is saying to us? Kaver el Hashem, put your hope in Hashem. Chazak ve'amitz, make yourself strong. Okay, if it doesn't happen the way that you intended, the way that you thought it was going to, that your human plans are supposed to be, then what should you do? Kaver el Hashem, hope again. Re-strengthen yourself and start hoping again. And my husband told me, and I want to elaborate it a little, but he said, any muscle that you want to work well, you have to exercise. And so if we want our hope to be there, if we want our trust and our belief to be there, we actually have to exercise it. When we don't exercise, then we get stiff, right? And our muscles stop working properly, and it becomes harder to be. So now this one is coming to your house. Sorry, I'm going to just try and mute. Sorry. So when we don't put our hope into practice, then we get stiff. And this is what David HaMelech is saying to us. At any time that you are not trusting in Hashem, then strengthen yourself and start trusting in Hashem again. This is Kaver el Hashem, put your hope in Hashem, Chazak ve'amitz libecha, make your heart stronger when you're not, and then V'kaver el Hashem, hope again, because please God, your hopes are going to come to fruition. And that brings us to the end of Perek Chaf Zion 27, and I'm going to go on now to Perek Mem Zion, which is 47, and for if anyone has it still in front of them and they want to follow, you might look at it and recognize it, because this is the capital of Tehilim, the chapter of Tehilim, which we say 7 times before the shofar is blown on Rosh Hashanah. So I don't think we're going to manage to cover everything and all the details, but at least to give you a little bit of a taste of this incredible chapter of Tehilim, and hopefully put some things in our heads before the shofar is blown. So you might know that one of the parts of doing a mitzvah is also preparing for the mitzvah. So sometimes we do a mitzvah just quickly, it like lands in our lap and we do it. But there are many mitzvahs that we have lots of notice, like we all know that Pesach is coming, or we all know that the mitzvah of counting the Omer is coming, and we are supposed to, in the ideal world, an ideal way, prepare for the mitzvah, okay, to prepare ourselves, get ready to do the mitzvah. So some of you might be familiar with the, if you have a big chazan and a choir, then before they say count Sfirat HaOmer, they spend almost the 6 weeks singing the words Hineni Muchanu Mazuman. Here I am preparing myself to do the mitzvah of counting Sfirat HaOmer. So we are obligated to prepare ourselves for a mitzvah. And so with the shofar, we are obligated to prepare ourselves for the mitzvah of shofar. And the mitzvah of shofar is actually on each one of us. It's not a mitzvah that applies just to the person who's blowing shofar, but the mitzvah of shofar is actually the hearing of the shofar, which every single one of us is obligated in. And therefore, it seems we are obligated to prepare for the mitzvah of shofar. So that would be brilliant if we were able to say now we are all sitting and preparing ourselves to hear shofar, or if we were able to be in shul early, a little bit early, and prepare ourselves. And if we knew how to prepare ourselves, how do we prepare ourselves to hear the shofar? And so simply our rabbis tell us that the best way to prepare yourself for the shofar, for the blowing of the shofar, is to say this chapter, Mem Zayin 47, 7 times before the shofar is blown. And that's the best preparation for hearing the shofar. And so we want to understand why. Why is saying this particular chapter a good preparation for hearing the shofar? So let's look at it a little bit, a few points from it, which will give us an inkling to why this is such an important chapter for us, and why. Because I want to point out that it doesn't say anything about Rosh Hashanah in it. There's no alluding to Rosh Hashanah in it. It's a few times it says the word blow shofar, or it speaks about Trua, but there are many other chapters of Tehilim that mention blowing the shofar. So why dafka this perek for a preparation for blowing the shofar? And a big part of the answer comes in the very first line, which some people just interpret as a introduction to the perek, but actually it has so many lessons for us in it. So the perek begins, Lam Natseach, to the choir master, Livnei Kairach, by the sons of Kairach, Mizmor, a song. And that immediately tells us a whole lot of things. So firstly, you know that the words Lam Natseach, simply at its surface level that we can look at right now, when David HaMelech compiled Sefer Tehilim, certain chapters of Tehilim, he put them with a good musical arrangement, and he gave it to the choir master in the Beis HaMikdash, the choir master of the Leviim, and he said, these are the instruments that you're going to use, this is the music arrangement that you're going to use, and this is a chapter of Tehilim that's going to be sung in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's the first thing that we see with this perek. This is an important perek. It's one of those chapters which David HaMelech chose to sing in the Beis HaMikdash. And not only just sing, but to sing it, as we see with the word mizmor, to sing it with musical accompaniment. Okay, great. Why? Now, who wrote it? Who was the original composer of this kapitel Tehilim? Livnei Kairach, the sons of Kairach, which then should have us all sitting up straight and saying, what? Okay, we're about to do one of the biggest mitzvahs of the year, hear the shofar being blown, bring ourselves to these highest levels, and we're going to say a chapter of Tehilim made up, okay, composed by the sons of Kairach. So let me remind you who Kairach is and who his sons were. So Kairach was the first ever big rebel against the leaders, right? He went for Moshe Rabbeinu, said it's not fair that Moshe hasn't given his family enough jobs, he's taken it all for himself, right? First big rebellion. And the Medrash tells us that Kairach didn't come up with this plan by himself. Actually, his sons, they were the ones who came to him, and they said to him, like, Dad, are you going to let this happen, right? Are you going to let Moshe just take whatever he wants, do whatever he wants, be whatever he wants, and we're going to just sit in the background? And they were the ones who pushed their father Korach to rebel, and it's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why they were punished with him. So what happens to Korach? You all also know that part of the story, that the earth opens up and swallows Korach and all his merry men. And as they are being swallowed by the ground, suddenly the sons of Korach, a few of them, suddenly realized what was going on. And at that moment, they realized what a big mistake they made, and they decided that they need to do teshuvah. And at that moment, they said the very famous words, Moshe emes v'teirasoi emes. Moshe is true, and his Torah is true. It says that in the pit that they were falling into, that they were being swallowed up, like a ledge came out, and they grabbed onto the ledge, and they did not die together with the rest of the people of Korach and all of them. They held onto that ledge, screaming, Moshe emes v'teirasoi emes, right? Moshe is true, and his Torah is true. And they hung on there doing absolute pure tshuva for 38 years. Okay, 38 years, the whole time that the Yidden were in the desert, the sons of Korach were holding on to the ledge, and they were screaming for their lives. So they were doing absolute tshuva. So basically, they were in Gehinnom, they were in hell for 38 years. Even the worst of people, we know, only go to Gehinnom for 11 months. So like 12 months maximum. So what is like really happening over here, that Korach's sons are in hell for 38 years, and then when they come out, just before the Yidden go into Israel, they come out and they start singing songs of praise to Hashem. And the Medrash tells that Moshe and Aharon and all the great people of that generation came to learn from the sons of Korach how to sing praise to Hashem. So they are, the sons of Korach are actually the epitome of what we would call a Baal Teshuvah, someone who's done something really terrible and then does Teshuvah and is forgiven absolutely and completely and comes to this highest level. They come to this greatest level that Moshe Rabbeinu is learning from them, right? Is learning from them how to sing to Hashem. And not only this capital, but the sons of Korach actually wrote 8 different chapters in Tehilim, which we use, which David HaMelech felt was fit to include in the book of Tehilim. So the simple understanding of why we say this capital of Tehilim before the shofar blowing is because we have to learn from the composers of this capital. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, no matter how you feel about yourself, you can do teshuvah. You can hang on there. You can connect with Hashem again. And how well can you do that? You can do that, that you can know how to connect with Hashem even better, that Moshe Rabbeinu could come and learn that from you. And so as we're about to hear the shofar being blown, we're about to hear the shofar being blown, and we know that the shofar is supposed to cause, it's that primal sound that's supposed to bring us to doing teshuvah. So as we're about to do that, we remember the sons of Korach. They're the ones, that is our best preparation for the shofar blowing. So that would be the simplest reason of why we say this chapter of Tehilim before shofar blowing. A little bit of a deeper reason and understanding of this. It's said in the name of Reish Lakish. So this actually is written in the Medrash Tehilim, but it's said in the name of Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish for those people who don't learn Gemara every day. Reish Lakish is one of the Tanaim of the Gemara who was also a well-known Baal Teshuvah. He was actually a highway robber, used to do the most terrible things. He one day came across Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says about him that he was very, very handsome, and he was about to be whatever, mugged, attacked, whatever Reish Lakish was going to do to him. And when Reish Lakish saw this incredibly handsome man, he said to him, if you would have a sister, I would even keep the whole Torah in order to marry her. And Rabbi Yochanan said, guess what? I have a sister. And so Reish Lakish agreed that he would do full teshuvah if he could marry Reb Yochanan's sister, which is indeed what happened. Reish Lakish did a full teshuvah, so much so that he became one of the greatest Tanaim of the Gemara in the Talmud. So it's interesting. He also comments on this chapter of Tehilim, but he says that the reason that we say this chapter of Tehilim before shofar blowing is for a different reason. He says he looks at pasuk Vav, sixth line of this chapter, and he says it says over here, Allah Elokim Bisruah. Hashem has gone up with the blowing of the shofar. Hashem b'kol shofar. Hashem is there in the sound of the shofar. So this might be a line that you just read. Okay, Hashem is there. Okay, and whatever. And Reish Lakish comments differently. He comments on this pasuk. He says that on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem is in his din mood. He's sitting on his throne of din, of justice. Now, you know what din means? Din law means that Hashem is there very fairly, looking at everything we've done during the year, seeing the good, seeing the bad, seeing the medium, and making a decision. She deserves this, she doesn't deserve that, she does deserve this, right? Din is right or wrong. What's the rule? What is going to happen now? Now, most of us could not survive din, right? Most of us, if we would go through what we've done, and we wouldn't get all the good that we get as like just because we deserve it. But Hashem doesn't judge us just with din. Hashem also has rachamim. He also has mercy. So what is rachamim? Rachamim is when Hashem knows what we deserve and what we don't deserve, but he decides to be nice also. He decides to be kind. I'm going to give it to her even though she doesn't deserve it. I'm going to allow that even though she doesn't necessarily deserve it. That's what rachamim is. And so what we're trying to do, and we saw this a bit in the previous chapter that we learned, that during the month of Elul, and then as we move into Rosh Hashanah, we are trying to awaken Hashem's rachamim, because we want at the time of judgment that Hashem should also have a lot of rachamim. And so Reish Lakish says, he says, look what happens over here. Allah Elokim. It's Rosh Hashanah. Hashem goes up, and the name of Hashem Elokim is being used here. The name of Hashem Elokim is God's name of din. So it's Rosh Hashanah, and Hashem is in his spirit of din. Let's see, okay, who's right, who's wrong, what's be true. Now there is a shofar being blown. And what does the shofar do? The next word is again Hashem, but this time it's the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey name of Hashem, which is the name of Rachamim, compassion. So Allah Elokim, the din of Hashem goes up, Bitrua, when we blow shofar. Hashem, as it explains, Hashem b'kol shofar. Simply through the act of blowing shofar. That's whether we understand what's happening, we don't understand, we've prepared, we haven't prepared, we're good, we aren't good, whatever it is, simply through the act of the shofar being blown, Hashem goes from his throne of din to his throne of rachamim. He goes from Elokim to Hashem, the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav and the Hey name of Hashem. That's one of the big things that we are trying to achieve with the shofar blowing. It's interesting, at the end of shofar blowing, once they finish the whole first part of the service, and again, the person who's reading the shofar leads us in whatever the various psukim. The next thing, one of the psukim that he says, Ashrei ha'am, fortunate are the people who Yedeya culture, Yedeya trua, who understand, who know about blowing shofar. Ashrei ha'am Yedeya trua. Fortunate is the nation, are the people who know about blowing shofar. And there the commentaries ask, like, what? There are lots of nations who know how to play lots of instruments, right? So what does it mean? Fortunate is a nation who knows how to blow shofar, right? There's what is this actually saying? And the commentaries explain to us that what are we actually saying over there? Not that we know how to blow shofar, not that we, got this best shofar blower and it sounds beautiful and it's great and whatever, but Yodea Trua, that we know that just by blowing shofar, we move Hashem from one seat to another. We move Hashem from his Elohim seat to his Yud-Kei Vav-Kei seat. We move Hashem from strict judgment to Rachamim. And that's what's fortunate, that we know how to do that. It's interesting also in this capital of Tehilim, if you go and you count the name Elohim, Hashem's name of judgment, as we said, of Din, is there 7 times. And we say this chapter of Tehilim 7 times, which means in all, in preparation for the blowing of the shofar, we say the name of Hashem, the Elohim name, the name of judgment, 49 times. It's written that the lowest a person could fall is 49 levels, right? Once a person is fallen lower than 49 levels, then bad, okay, then it's bad news. So the lowest a person could fall is 49 levels. With each time that we say Elohim in this capital of the 49 times, we move ourselves up one level of going down, and we move ourselves also up one level of the 49 upward gates, upward levels. And so one of the reasons that we're saying this capital 7 times is so that in this preparation for the mitzvah of hearing shofar, we lift ourselves up from the lowest place, we move ourselves up into a higher place, and we change Hashem from din to rachamim. We change him from severity to mercy. Another reason that we say this capital of Tehilim 7 times is because there are 7 other worlds, and with each time that we say this chapter of Tehilim, we move ourselves up into the next level world, so that by the time it comes to blowing the shofar, hearing the actual sound of the shofar, we are standing there right at the feet of the throne of the Kisei HaKavod, and the sound of the shofar and our sound of our hearts and the emotions inside us are right by the feet of the Eibishter, and ready for him to hear, to accept what we're asking, what we're pleading, what we are pleading for. So now coming back to the capital, to understand this capital of Tehilim a little bit, just a little touch, a few things. So first of all, we have by tradition, and this is just a Hasidic story, which I think is important to tell over here, says that on Chai Elul, the Baal Shem Tov began to say this capital of Tehilim, and later on he told, and the Tzemach Tzedek told us that the Alter Rebbe was born as a result of saying this capital of the Baal Shem Tov saying this capital of Tehilim. So that's just a traditional side story about this capital, of the power of this particular capital of Tehilim. As I said before, this chapter of Tehilim is not talking about Rosh Hashanah. By most opinions, this chapter of Tehilim is talking about the time of Mashiach, after the wars of Gog and Magog. Other opinion is that this chapter of Tehilim is talking about the time that David HaMelech brought the ark to Yerushalayim, and the people sang and danced together with the ark. And another opinion is that this capital of Tehilim was made up at the time of the Babylonian exile, in a hope that one day we would come back singing and praising Hashem. So this chapter is actually said on a hope that the world will be a good place, on a hope that we will have reason to celebrate, and I hope that actually this year we will bring Mashiach. So just looking at a few points, I'm just looking at the time. Looking at a few points in this chapter. So there's one more thing I want to say about the first line over here, the word Lam Natseach, which we've translated as to the conductor, because that's where throughout Tehilim, whenever you see Lam Natseach, as we said, it's talking to the conductor. But the word Lam Natseach also has in it the root word of success, Hatzlacha. nitzachon, right? To be successful. So when we're about to start saying this kapitel of Tehilim in preparation for the blowing of the shofar, in the hope that Hashem is going to be merciful to us this year, we begin with the word lam natzayach. We go into it believing that we will be successful. Lam natzayach. To all of us who want to be successful, say this kapitel of Tehilim, believe what success you're going to cause through saying this and through blowing the shofar and through davening and through everything else that you want to do over the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur time, what you want to, and all that which you want to achieve. Pasuk Beis, it says, Kol ha'amim tik'u chaf, all the nations join hands, hariu lelekim b'kol rina, and they call out to Hashem in a sound of joy. So this is very typical when the Yidden are high, when things are going well, when things are great. All nations join hands with us. They all want to be our friends. All are going to want to be our allies, our partners, our friends, and they're all there for us. Unfortunately, when we aren't all high, when things are tough, then suddenly all the nations are not necessarily do not necessarily want to be our friends. We are hoping for a time when Mashiach comes, and this is also alluded to, which I don't think we're going to get to today, but that when all the nations will be our friends properly, and when everyone will recognize Hashem as God of the world and accept Hashem over them as well, this is the time of Mashiach, which we are speaking about. The word tik'u also means to blow, and the word chaf, which we said is a hand or such, tik'u chaf alludes to the 100 blows of the shofar which we hear. The word chaf, hand, if you have a look at it, it is a kaf and a pei. The numerical value of the word chaf, a kaf is 20 and a pei is 80, and so this word has a hint to us that we should hear 100 blows, 100 sounds of shofar. It is interesting when it speaks about us blowing the shofar. It says hariu lelekim, sing out to Hashem, b'kol rina, in a happy, rina means in a happy, in a joyous cry, in a joyous call. And this is one of the most interesting things about us Yidden, that we are facing the scariest time of the year, actually. And we come into Shiur and Rosh Hashanah, and we are facing judgment. And we might have had a good year and we might have had a bad year, but we are still facing Hashem. And we are pleading with Hashem that everything should go well this year. And we're pleading with Hashem that He should have rachamim for us. It seems that we should be in petrified mood, okay, not having a yontif. And David HaMelech says to us, what is different about us to all other people? Hariu lelekim, when we call out to Hashem, even at times where we're scared, even when we've been through any kind of trauma, even when things have been hard, how should we call out to Hashem? B'kol rina, in a happy voice, which is why we do practical things for Rosh Hashanah, like buy clothes or have meals or eat teilach or whatever it is that makes you happy, because this is our way of connecting to Hashem. It's a hard concept to be petrified and understand the awesomeness of the day, as we'll see throughout this kapitel of Tehilim, where it speaks about the absolute awe and trepidation that we should face Hashem with, and with that, the mixture of kol rina, of sounds of joy, believing and trusting again, going back to that other comment, the comment that we started with, that we have to believe, and if it isn't right now, it will be. And so it has to be kaveh el Hashem, as we said before, hope, and then hope again. And one of the biggest things that we have to be doing in the next few days is the concept of chazak v'amitz libecha. We have to strengthen ourselves and re-strengthen ourselves and keep on and keep on and keep on. And whenever we start to think, it's been a hard year, or do I deserve this, or whatever else it is, that we kaveh el Hashem, we believe again. And how, as it says in this chapter of Tehilim, b'kol rina, in a joyous manner, And that's our preparation for facing the shofar being blown. That the time of the shofar is where, as our commentaries tell us, the shofar blows and we shake, right? Everybody is moved by the sound of the shofar. What sound should we make it? A mixture of trepidation and kolrina, a sound of joy, so that we can know that, please God, this is the year that Hashem will give us real joy, the ultimate and the absolute joy. And so I wish you all a ksira v'chasima tova, to be good, healthy, happy, everything good year for us Yidden, for everybody around us, and a good Shabbos and a good Yontif. So I don't know how to unmute everybody. Mute all.
Thank you, Rifki.
Thank
Was everybody.
Thank you, Rifki. That was amazing.
That was beautiful, Rifki. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good year. Thank you.
It's a good year.
Thank you so much.
Shana Tova to
Yeah.
everybody.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Shana
and
Tova.
to you, Roz.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rifki.
Good yontif
Thank
to
you.
you
Good
and
yontif.
to your dad and brothers and everyone. And just please keep safe. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rifki. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And Shana Tova, a blessed new year to everybody.
Please, thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Rifki, this was outstanding. I learned so much. I always wonder about Korach's sons. Now I got my answers.
Got your
Thank
answer. Okay. Good.
And also the way it ties up. It's just
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thanks, you. Thank you.
Good. A good bench to you and the family with nachas and mazel and happiness.
Amen and amen to you all also.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to switch off. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.